Hi, everyone, and welcome to the fifth annual Global Breast Cancer Conference. It's such an honor to have each and every one of you here today. Thank you to all of our amazing speakers, our sponsors, and our amazing co-host, Ragna Sinikas. Now, Ragna Sinikas, she's the founder of World Women Conference and Awards, WWCA, Women Entrepreneurs TV, Changemakers Coach, and Ragna is a public speaker. And at this time, I'd love to welcome our amazing co-host, Ragna Sinikas. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so honored to be here today as the co-host of the fifth annual Global Breast Cancer Conference. First, I'd like to extend a sincere thank you to our incredible host, Dr. Regilane Gigi Sabat, for her dedication and leadership in bringing this event to life. For those who do not know who Gigi is, she's the CEO and the founder of the Life Service Center of America, LLC, a motivational keynote speaker, and an award-winning author of the Walk With Me and God First books, both of which have endorsed by Les Browns. So she also is the co-author of several best-selling book collaborations, and she works as a life coach and a conference coach, confidential coach. Gigi, your passion to empowering others and your dedication to this cause are truly inspiring. We are all grateful for your leadership today. I also want to thank our remarkable lineup of speakers who have taken this time to be with us here today. Each of you brings a wealth of knowledge, expertise, and personal experiences that will no doubt empower and educate our audience. We are grateful for your willingness to share your insights and be part of this global conversation. And to the survivors who are with us today, you are the true heroes of this event. Your strength, resilience, and courage in the face of breast cancer are nothing short of inspirational. By sharing your stories, you provide hope and encouragement to those who are on this journey. We honor you today and every day. Today is about education, empowerment, and community. Together, we can amplify the importance of awareness, early detection, and the support needed for those affected by breast cancer. Let's open our minds, take in the knowledge shared today, and work together to create a world where breast cancer awareness and prevention are a top priority. Thank you all for being here. Let's get ready for an impactful and inspiring event. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And please share this event, because by doing so, you might be able to change someone else's life and the life path, because the information shared can be really a life-saving. So thank you again. Thank you for showing up. And let's give the microphone to our first speaker.
Thank you, Ragni. Very powerful. Now, our first speaker is Dr. B. That's Dr. Angelica Benavides. She's a global transformational leader. And Dr. B believes that together we make a bigger impact. Dr. B is the founder of Heal to Write Book Camp, where authors heal, write, and get clear on their message while creating their story brand. Welcome, Dr. B.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gigi. And I really want to thank you for this amazing opportunity for global breast cancer. And also, Regne, hello to you and all the amazing ladies and gentlemen on this platform. I just want to say that my topic is really redefining the word sexy, because as a cancer survivor, when you're losing your hair, when I have a double mastectomy and you feel that you're losing part of you and you're not feeling whole and complete, and then you're trying to navigate life, finding a new identity, a new you, daring to show up in the world, redefining who you are. So my topic is that piece of sexy after cancer. And really, it's not being sexy and the physical aspect, but it's daring to be you and being bold and stepping out into the new you. and being able to fall in love with who you are and love everything about you, regardless of what you're missing, whether you have hair, eyelashes, eyebrows, right? Because you lose it all when you're going through chemo and radiation. And you lose that part of you, that confidence, right, of who you are. So today I stand before all of you talking about something close to my heart, and it's very, very dear to me. I'm just going to pause for a second because it's how do you spice your life and yourself, right? So one of the things that I did, I had to find things that I was passionate about to be able to step into the new me. One of the things that I did was I fell in love with dancing, and I would always put it aside because I claimed I never had time because I was a workaholic, always working and working. But when I tap into dancing, I realized there was parts of my body that I never really moved, like my toes and my head spinning and when I started learning how to tap into my body again and really be in touch with who I am, I started feeling me again. I started feeling beautiful. I started feeling sexy again. I started to dress up a little more, change my character, my attitude, and and I also started not to care what people were saying anymore and thinking, because I knew I wasn't a great dancer, but then I was daring to step into a platform. And in fact, I really dared big. I started performing and stepping into that part, which was not my comfort zone at all. So anyways, it was just a beautiful moment to, I don't know if somebody's saying something, but I don't know, it was something just crazy and daring. And I'm just here to remind women, if you're in the same place that I was, because this is my 11th year after going through cancer. And it took courage, right? And yes, it took a while to be where I'm at, in that I have one of my mentors that's in dancing. He says, if it ain't sexy, don't do it, right? So basically, if it's not bold, if it's not something you're passionate about, if it's not something you love, and it's not something that you're willing to step into, then don't do it. Don't waste your time, because many times as a cancer survivor, many of you already know, when you're a cancer survivor, it's like a wake-up call. It's like they shake you, right? And you're like, okay, I have to dare to live big. But if you haven't had cancer, then don't wait to be ill. Don't wait for a breakup. Don't wait for anything. Like, just begin living in your full potential and making sure that you're truly passionate, that you truly love what you do, so that when you're doing it, even when you find those struggles and those hurdles, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still gonna go for it 100% because you're daring to be you and really loving what you do. So anyways, I'm gonna end it again. If it ain't sexy, then just don't do it. Love you all. And thank you, Gigi, for everything.
Thank you, Dr. B. Now, our next speaker is Michelle Quick, all the way from Denmark. Michelle, she's a global inspirational speaker and leadership coach. Welcome, Michelle.
Just needed to have sound on. And I wanted to record myself here also, because this is special, right? Hi, everyone. So, really honored to be here all the way from Denmark. actually. And thank you so much, Dr. B or Angelica. I really resonated with your words, because it is about doing the things that feel right, about love. Now, some of you know me and some of you don't. So I luckily have not had the experience of having cancer. The thing is, I've had the experience of having a sick mom since I was 5 years old, with almost every disease in the book. So much that we really had in my youth, in my childhood, and in my adult years, we had really, really dark humor. You tend to have a different kind of humor when you have so much disease close to yourself. In my family, anyway. My mom was taken from us by cancer. And what I remember of her is the last year and a half was actually some of the most relaxing, some of the most peaceful, and living in ease that she'd ever had, because she almost knew that this was the end, and she was not fighting anymore, because her life was one big fight from she was born till actually the end. I am lucky and I'm privileged, and I'm so proud of how she fought every day to bring love into my life. She literally found love out of anything and gave to me. So that's a little bit of the backstory of why I wanted also to speak here, because in honor of her, and of course of everyone that is survivors or that are not with us today. As I said, I really resonate about the love, because it is a disease. It's a dis-ease. It's the opposite of being in ease, being in flow, and being in love. Our body reacts to us actually not loving ourselves. I don't know how many of you, is there anyone here that knows about the teachings of Louise L. Hay? Maybe, yeah. Got her here. This is the date, yeah. Healing Your Life. This is almost a Bible for everything I do, because how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, the respect, the boundaries that we set for others in our lives is really what we reflect in our bodies. So I'm a little bit on easy ground here, because I do know about disease. Trust me, I know the hurt and distraught. And when I say that we have a responsibility in that also, I am not saying that it is our fault that we get cancer or anything else. It is a problem in the world that we, with this conference and really sharing the love, can make a change with, because it is about sending the love out and teaching our children to actually love themselves. And how do we do that? Because you know what? I have a son that's 12 and a daughter that's 17, and they really don't like to do what I tell them. They almost always do what I do, also the bad stuff. Sometimes I do something right and they do that too, but it seems like it's all the difficult things that they see first. And so it stands to reason that if we want everyone else around us, our children and their children, to love themselves, there is only one person that can show them that, and in the way of loving ourselves and treating ourselves with respect. So how do we do that? That's the big questions. Now it is an ongoing process. I'm every day in the process of treating myself with respect. these days, my favorite topic is actually looking inside of my on my shadows. I don't know how many of you that knows about shadow work and Carl Jung. The difficult parts inside that we tend to bottle up, really push down because we don't think that it is flattering or things that people would like to see in us, because God forbid if they don't like us, if they knew that we were not cleaning the bathroom every day or whatever. Yeah, I don't every day. But so shadow work is the thing that I would like to actually share to you today. If you don't know about it, look it up. If you know about it and you just put it aside because you could think about it another day, look at it. Look at the difficult parts in the shadow. What is it that you are avoiding? Because we can talk so much about the lovely things, doing the gratitude journal, loving ourselves with the mirror. But when do we turn around and look at the really uncomfortable little things down there? Because they are there for a reason. We should look at them and we should learn to love them too. Ending this, I really want to acknowledge everyone here and the camaraderie and the love that we share on this moment. It's addictive, and I'm so thankful that I have met Gigi and I am in this also, because the vibration that we are actually sharing, although not even though that I am in Denmark, we are sharing a field of a positive, loving vibration, and we are lifting together. So with that note, I want to thank you all and saying take care and stay safe, and remember, you are loved.
I love it. Thank you, Michelle. Michelle, really quick, can you hold up the book that you mentioned earlier and tell us the name of the book and where can folks find the book? I'm just zooming
It's
in here.
yeah, this is the Danish title, but it's Heal Your Life with Louise L. Hay. It's an old one. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Heal Your Life with Louise L. Hay. She has a bunch of different books. There's a bunch of her on YouTube. Also where you can find, there's meditations, there's podcasts. She has Hay House that actually publish books and teachings and courses and everything. So really into that about loving yourself. She big revelation through the 70s and 80s, teaching people to love themselves. So yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Michelle. And we do have
You're
some
welcome.
comments that came in. An individual says, love that book. Next one says Amazon, Louise Hay. Thank you again, Michelle. We appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, our next speaker is CJ Grace. She's a humorous author. She's also a former BBC journalist and currently lives a live TV co-host on the Thriving Woman Network. She dealt with discovering her husband's adultery and then getting breast cancer for the second time by refusing the victim role and keeping her snarky style, sense of humor. CJ has a BRCA gene mutation that increases her breast cancer risk. Welcome, CJ.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me as a guest on the Global Breast Cancer Conference. And this is the third year I've actually been doing this. So yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm very grateful to Gigi for putting on these events, because I think they are very useful for people, and we cover all kinds of different subjects. And the subject that I want to cover is the subject of bras and breast cancer. Did you know this is a completely zero-cost way that you can reduce your breast cancer risk? If you give up wearing a bra, you will reduce your breast cancer risk, because the link between bras and breast cancer is stronger than the link between smoking and lung cancer. And the reason why I know about this is that there is a book that I read as part of the I don't know whether any of you know, but I wrote a book called, maybe Gigi, if you, can you put me on the main screen there, and I can, people can see my book, because I think because your mic isn't muted, you're coming through, and I can't show, I want to show a couple of books on this presentation.
Okay, awesome. We allowed screen share, and also
Yeah.
you should be good now. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So the book that I read is called Dressed to Kill: The Link Between Breast Cancer and Bras by Sydney Ross Singer. And the reason why that is a groundbreaking book is that he is the very first person to have brought up this link in a book format. And I read the book as part of my research for my own book, which is the book My Wild Ride: How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity. And as you may know, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. I had it on the left side in 2007. I had it on the right side in 2014. And what happened was that I decided that I needed to write about my experiences, because I was not only dealing with breast cancer, I was dealing with the loss of my partner, because I found out that he had been unfaithful. He had one of many lovers that I didn't know about. And the final one I found out about, and it broke up my marriage. And shortly after that was when I had breast cancer for the second time. But I needed to write about it, both as a cathartic thing and also to help other people. And I did tons of research for the book. I referenced over 70 books, over 100 articles and studies. And I wanted to make sure I knew what the subject was all about. And the one book that stuck in my head was Dressed to Kill: The Link Between Breast Cancer and Bras. And it made sense, because bras are so uncomfortable. A lot of people come home after being at work wearing a bra. The first thing they want to do is take it off. So what I would say is, you've got a bra, throw it away. Throw away your bras. You don't need them. Throw them away, because you will be freeing your breasts. And why are bras so bad? Well, what they do is they constrict your breasts. They constrict under your arms. And that's where you've got all these lymph glands. You've got the lymph nodes there. And if you don't allow those areas to drain and flow by having them constricted, you can have all kinds of things accumulate in your breasts. Because where do toxins, waste products accumulate? They accumulate in fatty tissue. And where do we women have fatty tissue? In our breasts. So if you are constantly constricting those areas, then you are preventing those toxins and waste products from flushing out of the breasts, out of the body. And so it's such a simple thing. And why is it not better known? Well, there's a lot of studies out there to show the link. There was one in 1991 done by Harvard. There's a Chinese study from 2011. There's a Spanish study. There's a Kenyan study. There's a Brazilian study. There's a 2018 lymph stasis research study. All of these studies show a relationship between bras and breast cancer. But the problem is, if you Google the issue, all you find is a 2014 Hutchins study in Seattle that showed no link. That's the one that comes up on Google. But the reason why it shows no link is that it had no control group of bra-free women. So that would be like studying the link between bras, between, say, smoking and lung cancer, and not including any non-smokers compared to the smokers. So there was no control group of women who didn't wear bras. And also, it only included post-menopausal women in whom the effects were much weaker because of something called survivor bias. In other words, they were more likely, if you were likely to die from cancer, you might well not be lasting to be post-menopausal. So if you take a post-menopausal group, you're going to have far fewer people who are affected by the bra cancer link. But so many studies out there, all the studies I've looked at, except for that 2014 Hutchins study, show a link between bras and cancer. It is incontrovertible. And it is something that is so simple and so great for women. Because when you think of it, what did we used to have to do? We used to have to wear corsets back in the Edwardian times, because they wanted us to have wasp waists. And then finally they realized that those things were way too unhealthy and people had chlorosis and they could barely breathe. So what did they do? Well, instead we have to be constricted by bras. And why is it unacceptable to wear clothing that shows your nipples? And you can't do that. You have to cover those things up because it's not right. Well, if that does bother you and you still want to give up wearing a bra, there are these things. These are little gel petals, and you can stick those on your nipples under your clothing, and then your nipples won't show through. So that is one suggestion. And you can also choose clothing that has more patterns, that is maybe thicker, and then you aren't going to be showing your breasts, oh my God, through your clothing. And to be quite honest, I would rather be showing my breasts healthily through my clothing than be constricted in a bra that's helping to get me back into the horrible, nasty cancer situation that I've been in twice. I do not want to go there a third time. So the final thing that I want to tell you about is I made a controversial decision when I had cancer for the second time. It was after the whole Angelina Jolie thing where she publicized her double prophylactic mastectomy because she is a BRCA gene. She has that mutated gene similar to the one that I have. She actually has BRCA1 mutated, which is a little bit worse than the BRCA2 gene that I had. So she chose to have a prophylactic double mastectomy. And after she publicized this, the doctors were way more aggressive to tell women that they ought to be doing this. Well, the research I did seemed to show that there wasn't that much difference between the outcomes for women who had double mastectomies versus women who chose just to have lumpectomies. Now, of course, this is controversial. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to cancer. What I did may not work for anybody else, and I'm not a doctor. But my view was, for me, I was going to hang on to my breasts and just have the lumpectomy. I did go through radiation and chemo. Wasn't fun. I changed the cocktail that the doctors originally wanted to prescribe. They originally wanted to give me adriamycin, and I switched that for carboplatin because it was, I thought, more suitable and less toxic for my triple negative prognosis for my second cancer. But it is a controversial view. And, you know, everybody is going to give you lots of advice when you go through cancer about what you should and what you shouldn't do. And, you know, if you would need, at least I felt I would have needed 72 hours in a day to do all the advice that people told me I had to do if I wanted to stay healthy and not die, you know. And you've got to give up dairy. And, oh, alternative medicine is pure quackery. You can't do that. And, you know, radiation and chemo is toxic and doesn't work. Well, I got all of that. And I did all of those different things. Oh, and if you're stressed and if you don't have a positive attitude, your cancer won't go away and it will come back. Well, how can you have a positive attitude all the way through going through chemo and radiation? It is not possible. Sometimes you will not feel very positive. And it's great to feel positive when you can, but you can't force that. And so, you know, I'm still here and that's all I can say. And what I will finish with is my favorite badge here. I'm not dead yet. This is from Spamalot. I'm a Monty Python lover. And so whatever I did, I'm still here. I'm still alive. And if you want to find out more about my books and what I do, you can just go to my website, cjauthor.com. And I also want to thank Gigi for the amazing job she's done here for so many years, and Ragne, and the speakers that we've already heard, Angelica and Michelle. What amazing stories. We are a wonderful community of cancer survivors and female warriors, and love to everybody in this whole conference.
Thank you, CJ. Now, we did receive some comments in the chat here. It says, love and light to all. And the next comment, CJ, I've heard your story many times now, and it just impacts me every time. You are such an inspiration. CJ, thank you. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Ukapong Nwankwo. Welcome, Dr. Nwankwo. She's a board certified in internal medicine, a fellow of the American College of Physicians, an honoree distinction awarded by the national organization that represents internists. Welcome, Dr. Nwankwo.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Gigi, for putting this up every year and for everyone that has joined today. And I'm just so excited to be here so that I can share my story. I'm not joining today as a physician. I'm joining as a fellow survivor. So as a young lady, as a young child, I loved helping people. And somehow I was drawn to medical shows. And before you knew it, I became a doctor. I lived my dream life. I was like, oh, I can save the whole world. And I was saving them from my own end of the world. And before you knew it, you know, fatigue set in. I gained a lot of weight with the responsibility increasing as a physician, now married, wife, mom with time. And so I hardly, you know, stopped to take a breather. All I was just doing was taking care of everyone. And then it was time for my mammogram. And actually, the guidelines had changed. And so I pushed it for 1 extra year ahead. They said you could do it every 2 years. And I was fine with that because it gave me more time to do my work. So I had the mammogram and I was asked to come in, you know, for my results. And that kind of set some alarms going on in my mind. What could be the matter? And I had to have a biopsy and I couldn't rest. And finally, when I was asked to, come in for my results, the look on the face, portrayed that there was something seriously wrong. And I was told that I had an aggressive, invasive left breast carcinoma. Have you ever been afraid? I was deeply afraid, and it like the chair under me expanded, and I was really, really scared. And when they said it was aggressive, invasive, I was like, am I going to make it? Will I live? Would I die? And those emotions were gripping, and I didn't know what to do. And I had to pull up my bootstrings and decided that I was going to leave. I was going to leave. And also I was angry with myself. How did I get here? I had spent all the time taking care of everyone. And the one person that was missing, the one person that was not cared for was myself. And I decided it was time to take care of myself. And so I went through the treatment. Have you been on a long journey before, dreaded the journey? So, you know, sometimes we do dread that journey. But I learned that I had to focus on the journey, not just the destination. When you travel, you know, and you're just so tensed up about the journey, you miss the beautiful scenery, the landscape, and the things that could bring you joy. The blooming flowers, the wonders of each city. And so that was my journey. Because it was an aggressive cancer, I had to take all the aggressive treatment, including adriamycin that I didn't want to take. The red devil, I had to take it. And I had to take other chemo, the worst type of chemo combination. I had to take that. I had to also do surgery. I got a second opinion, went to Mayo Clinic and had a lumpectomy with axillary dissection, radiation, as well as surgery and some new adjuvant therapy. But in the midst of all this, like another speaker said, I lost my hair, I lost my lashes, I lost my brows, and I still wanted to look normal. I decided I was going to look like I was sick, I determined that I was going to look as normal and feel as normal as possible. So in those moments, I learned to do makeup. When I felt tired, when I felt bruised, when I faced the unknown, uncertainty, I embraced makeup in the midst of my storm. And I had to slow down because I could not run through. As much as I wanted to run through and be done with it all, no. And you find out it's the little things that bring you peace and bring you comfort. And the lessons I learned during this time is that I became stronger. I became more compassionate. I went to Mayo Clinic. I saw how they were treating other patients, and I came back to my practice and I was like, I need to do this. I need to do this. And so I, decided that I had to, when you slow down and you walk it through with grace, along the way, you discover that there's something beautiful inside of you that you never knew existed. And so the lesson came back to me that, when you're in the aircraft, they tell you in the case of an eventuality, what did they ask you to do? Put on your mask first before you try to help others. And I had been, I had taken my mask off and all I did was helping other people. And so I have learned that I have to take care of myself. Thank God that was 10 years ago. It's behind my back. I make sure I take my vacations. This year alone, I've taken 3 international vacations. Went to Jamaica, went to Cancun, Cozumel, and then I went to my home country, Nigeria. Last year, I went to the Bahamas. And now I'm like, I should have been doing this all along. I've been married for over 30 years, and we have been preparing for this Bahamas trip, and we never got to do it because we were busy working. And so now I choose to live intentionally. I choose to live, full of life. And I also choose to come out here and encourage someone else along this journey. Thank you so much, Gigi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Nwankwo. Now we do have some comments that came in here as well. It says, Dr. Nwankwo, I can so relate to everything you shared. Again, Dr. Nwankwo, thank you. Now, our next speaker is Whoopi, also known as Lindy Elridge. Lindy Elridge, she's your Chief Happiness Officer and founder of Happiness Jungle, LLC. Lindy is a #1 international best-selling author, keynote speaker, breast cancer survivor, humorist, entrepreneur, co-brand partner with Les Brown. Lindy's also the creator, producer, TV personality of the 4-year running Happiness Jungle TV show. Host of I'm Crazy, But You Can't Lock Me Up podcast. The creator of the Happiness Jungle emotional support body pillow for emotional support. And Lindy is a true trauma to triumph survivor. She came from the school of hard knocks and has a New York state of mind. Her success has always grown because her formula works. And here it is, happiness equals success. And it's never the other way around. Welcome, Whoopi.
Oh my goodness. I love each and every one of you that are on the panel. I love each and every one of you that are in the audience. I love you all in the world. And oh my, Gigi, you never ever cease to amaze me with the power that you give right through the screen, my friends, right through the screen. I feel you and I appreciate you and your energy. And for all the speakers out there, boy, I'll tell you, your stories, they're very heartfelt. And all I know is my experience. And through my experience, I share with people that we have to learn one thing. God never gives us more than we can handle. And why are we the chosen ones to have the breast cancer? It's not your breast cancer. It's not my breast cancer. It's called the breast cancer because it's an invasion not to stay with us. I don't have that answer, but I do know one thing, that I am put on this earth for purpose. And through all of my triumphs, I really try so hard to look into not why me, but what is the purpose? So when I found out that I had the breast cancer in 2017, I shared it with my former husband, and we got divorced 3 weeks into radiation. Now, things may have been bumpy, but they weren't so bumpy that we were both ready for a divorce. However, if there are people in your life that just cannot serve you, it is none of your business, or it is not even your responsibility to make them be present for you. Love for them from afar, because you have to put yourself first. So when I found that I had the breast cancer, I knew immediately that I needed to put me first, and it was okay to do that. And I gave myself permission to do it. I gave myself permission to see what was the purpose. So with that being said, I decided that I was not only going to journal my experience from the first time that I heard the breast cancer, those words, "You have breast cancer." I decided that I was going to go ahead and I was going to start a book, and I was going to take everybody through the 1-year journey with me until up to the first year checkup where I heard, "You are breast cancer free." Hallelujah. I also want to share with you, I am now going on 7 years breast cancer free, and I went for my mammogram last Friday. Yes, and I'm still waiting for the results. And as far as I am concerned, I must practice what I preach. So while I wait for the results, I am positive I am 7 years breast cancer free, and there is nothing else that is going to change my mind. Okay. So your mindset through it all, I know it's difficult. And CJ, you're absolutely right. It's impossible to be positive, because we are allowed to break. We are allowed to cry. We are allowed to get angry and do all of those emotions. But here's the question. How long are you going to stay there? I chose that I gave myself permission to feel every emotion there was, from the time I heard those words that numbed me, and I really didn't even, we all understand who has been told those words, that it's like there's a plexiglass in front of us, right? We heard the word, but it's not resonating. It's not registering yet, right? So we have to allow ourselves to have time to process it. And then I had to have time to process that I was abandoned by a man I loved for 14 years. And then I had to process that I needed to go through a bankruptcy. And then I had to process other things. However, I've been working on myself for a very long time. I'm going to be 64 next Tuesday on the 22nd. On the 24th was 7 years ago that I had the breast cancer surgery. I'm also a domestic violence survivor. So October has really got me hooked in, right? It's got me, baby. But here's what I realized. I realized that the only one that I could be held responsible for my wellness was me. And I had to realize that every part of this journey, it was up to me to wake up with a better mindset, because I don't like drugs. And I know that in order for us to heal, we have to have the positive vibration. So I've been working on myself since I am 26 years old. I am 64 years old. You do the math. So if you're saying to yourself, well, she's been practicing on herself for a long time, that's why she's got such a strong mindset. I'm going to piggyback on you, and I'm going to ask you, when are you going to start? If you make that decision to start right now, that, you know what, I'm going to look at things a little differently, you'll feel lighter. You'll feel it, and you'll move on. So with that being said, I decided to go ahead and write a book. That was what I felt that God had compelled for me to do. So my book on the journey with the breast cancer. Oh, and also I was a caretaker of the meanest woman alive during this whole process, called Hurricane Frances, rest in peace, Mom. She was spicy, okay? So there was a lot going on. Can we get a nod on that? Can we get a nod on that? Yeah, there was a lot going on. But again, it was all how I was able to control what only I could control at the times that I needed to control. So I decided to go ahead and write you all a book with a positive mindset workshop in back of it. And it's called Squeeze My Tatas. You're only one mammogram away from going. So I'm asking you that even for those loved ones that are resistant against mammograms, because everybody has their theory of what a mammogram is and everything. It's a choice of going for your breast to be examined, however you feel you want to do it, but pick it, because we all need to be examined. We all need to be tested, right? So in my book, I take you along the process of, yes, it's okay to cry. And I take you through the process of how I was able to hold on to such a positive mindset. Then I think to myself, well, what was the purpose of the divorce? Wow, that was pretty cray-cray. Well, it was the Cuddle Me Love body pillow that I have now been blessed to comfort thousands of people around the world for all different medical reasons and emotional reasons, all because I needed to be comfort. So as we're going through what we have to go through when we hear those words, you have cancer, whatever kind of cancer that is, I pray that everybody, number one, take down my phone number. Gigi, put it in the chat if you would for me, please. 603 660 66. Oh no, stop that. 603 660 6010. I open up my lines to you 24/7. 24/7. If you want to talk to somebody in the middle of the night, text me your name and that you need to talk because you heard me right here on the Global Cancer event. Is that fair enough? I promise you, we will love together, but more importantly, we will end with the laughter. And can I do that with all of you? Can I laugh with all of you? And then I'm going to just share something. I'm making sure, okay, I'm at 8 minutes and 45 seconds. So can everybody turn on your cameras? Because I don't care what you look like. I don't care because you are beautiful inside. God did not make ugly people. He did not make junk. Turn on your cameras, everybody. Turn on your cameras because I too need your energy. I have not gotten back my test results. I am going to hear I am 7 years breast cancer free. And I want your energy and I want to give you mine. So can we go ahead and exchange it? I want you to all turn on your microphones. Turn on your microphones. We got about 30 seconds here. And I want you all to laugh with me. It's going to definitely feel like it's fake. But if you continue on, it will turn into laughter and make you feel better. 2, 3.
I love this.
Hey!
Laughing is fun. This is good. Thank you. Ooh, no, genuine. Very genuine. I love you, my sister.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for allowing me to pour into you. Back to you, Gigi. God bless each and every one of you. 603 660 6010. That is my gift to you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Whoopi. And I have your book here actually, and I want to share it out today. Thank you so much for a copy of your book as well. And so I want to share it because it's a very powerful book. I'm not sure if y'all can see that here, but I'm going to go ahead and share it here. It says, Squeeze My Tatas. You're only one mammogram away from knowing. Again, I highly recommend this book by Whoopi. It's a very, very powerful book. And Whoopi, again, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Gigi, and thank you for allowing me to comfort you and your family also with Cuddle Me Love. Love you.
Love you too. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Davis. She's a medical doctor. Welcome, Dr. Davis.
Hi, Dr. Gigi. Thank you for having me. I'll introduce myself quickly. I am Dr. Keisha Davis. I'm actually a pathologist, so I'm triple boarded in anatomic, clinical, and cytopathology. So 100% of breast cancers come through my office, through my eyes that are giving the diagnosis. So when I'm listening to this conversation, it does really hit home because I know every time I'm looking at something, I'm giving a patient, a family member, a loved one, a diagnosis of cancer, and it can be overwhelming. I've also been hosting a lot of spaces. I'm a podcaster, so I have the Medical Collective, and we've been having women and doctors of all different types of specialties talk about different things. And breast cancer, actually, this month is like the biggest month for me. Personally, I have a mother who has breast cancer. 5 years into it, as well as many aunts that have had breast cancer and not made it, and some colleagues as well. So I was listening to the physician speaking, and I was thinking back to a lot of us don't take care of our health when we're in these positions. We think we don't have time, right? We're the caregiver or we're the physician. And I personally have to go every 6 months because I'm high risk and I have a lot of things that have to be followed up, as well as my sister. So this is near and dear to me. The journey begins with the diagnosis, but I know it does not end there. I feel like a lot of people don't sometimes understand their diagnosis, which is so key. And one of the things that I have done with things I've been working on, and one of them is called Ask Path, is for patients to be able to understand this diagnosis. I call it a monster or a dragon and putting a name to it because I sit behind the scenes just like a radiologist giving out diagnoses, and a lot of people are feared by it. I had a group conversation with a lot of cancer thrivers, and I asked them, like, what do you feel like on D-Day? And it was sad to me because some of them were like, they remember it. One of them was driving in a car, which is crazy that a doctor was giving a diagnosis while they're driving in a car. A few of them were like told it, and then the doctor walked out, and it was just left to them to figure it out. So I really think that the journey begins there, and you'll never forget that day if it's not a welcoming environment, if it's not explained to you, if you don't have family members there, if you're told it in a car while you're driving, it shouldn't be like that. So I'm really trying to break down the barriers as someone that's behind the scenes doing this diagnosis, and it personally affected me as well. So I've always been there for my mother. I try to be there for as many people as I can. And through the podcast, I'm using my voice to be able to talk about it and give real life, because there are doctors that go through it. There are loved ones that grow through it. And so it really, really breaks me. And a couple of things I wanted to share about like this breast cancer diagnosis. First of all, it affects many of us as women, or those who believe that they are women and have breasts. But men, I think, and what I'm seeing is don't understand how it affects them, whether they get breast cancer, which men do get breast cancer. And one of the worst ones I've seen was a man. In addition, I don't think they understand how their relationship and getting the women in their life to go to the doctor is so important. I think as women, we are fearful of sometimes knowing what's going on with us because we don't have the time to take away. Men, on the other hand, just don't go to the physicians. We go, but sometimes it's hard to do the follow-up. So I think the first step is, as other women in someone's life, making sure we make each other accountable to going to the doctor. And listen, if the healthcare team you have is not listening to you, that's not your healthcare team. If the physician that's giving you your diagnosis from a pathologist doesn't explain it to you, ask for a second opinion. If you aren't offered a nutritionist, if you're not offered, maybe you need someone in physical therapy, or you need someone that's going to help you get motivated to work out, mental health. Everyone should actually have it before, because I believe it's a journey that is just a turn in the road. It's not the end of the road, but we have to be able to have the team that helps us navigate that rocky road that we're going through. So with that diagnosis that I give, it's just the beginning of something, whether it's lobular, whether it's ductal, whether it's lymphoma. And yes, people that have implants have an increased risk of getting what is called a implant-associated lymphoid, and it actually can be very aggressive, the lymphomas that we see with implants. Second of all, when you get a diagnosis, the first response is, what did I do to get this? And after studying a lot of these, there's not one thing that you've done to got this. Not at all. I don't like cancer shaming. I have people say, well, they should have eaten better. No, I'm not cancer shaming anyone. I don't even cancer shame my mother, even though I tell her sometimes to stop smoking, because her journey is not my journey. I'm not the one to judge her, but what I'm going to do is give her the knowledge to be able to continue on and cope the way she sees that she can cope. So I want you to remember that your diagnosis is not the end. It's your journey, and nothing you do, even if you have BRCA, even if you have the BRCA1, even if you have PALB-Me2 mutations, it's not your fault. It's not your family, your hereditary, your ancestors' fault. Your lifestyle is not your fault. You were dealt this and you're doing it the best you can. But if you ever have questions about a diagnosis, I'm always free to help, because I feel it's so important for us to understand our breast tissue, to see the pictures too. There's a couple of groups that actually in medical centers, they sit down with the patients after the diagnosis and they share the slide. So the patient's actually able to see, oh, this is what my breast tissue looks like. This is what my cancer looks like, and put a face, what they say, to the dragon that they're going to fight and conquer. I truly, truly believe that. I also am hopeful because as we talk about these conversations, there's so many people that are in the back working on better ways of diagnosis. We have tools now with AI that'll allow me to have a system help me better, because I will tell you, sometimes we do miss or make mistakes or grade something wrong. So what better way than to have AI facilitate and help us guide better diagnoses and faster. There's also better ways with AI with treatment, tailoring treatment. So it's not just the big guns as everyone talks about, because I don't think it's just one chemo for everyone. And what I'm seeing is amazing is no two breast cancers look alike under the microscope that I have up there. No two breast cancers look alike. No two people are the same. No two people have the same way of navigating work, any of that. So I hope that we realize as doctors and listen on both sides, because as one who's a loved one who has a loved one that has cancer, that we see what we can do and figure a way to tailor treatment in cancer, and also allow you to be able to take part of that conversation. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Gigi. Yeah, I met Dr. Gigi over on Noom Vibe, which I do talks really about mindset, as well as healthcare. I'm big into fitness too, and personal training, but I just love explaining things. So if anyone ever has a question about this type of cancer, something that some people on social media when I post was a question about, I'm not sure if anyone's had this, but it's the tissue around your breast sometimes can proliferate, and they'll get certain things like fibrostromal hyperplasia or something. So that can be like, oh my gosh, what does that mean? But it's not cancer. Or DCIS. Well, what's the difference between that and LCIS? So sometimes the doctor will give you a diagnosis and not know how to explain it to you. And unless you have an oncologist, I've even seen this within general physicians that may be guiding the situation, they could tell you something, but not necessarily the way that an oncologist can make it better understandable. But thank you so much, Dr. Gigi.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. And we do have some questions that came in here for you as well.
Yeah.
The first question is, tell us more about the tools, Dr. Keisha.
What tools? Like the diagnostic tools?
I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If that's not it, please let me know and clarify. So, for instance, when I get a cancer case, I look at it under the microscope. Sometimes the cancer, the difference between lobular and ductal is not easy to take. So I use tools that are immunostains to be able to differentiate between ductal and lobular. Sometimes there's even something called medullary carcinoma of the breast. I do that as well. An anecdotal story, I had a biopsy from a GI doctor from someone's duodenum. The doctor did not, I literally were like detectives. The doctor did not tell me the patient's clinical history, but it was a woman. And I'm looking at the duodenum and I'm like, something in my heart, like something, literally, I also rely, of course, on my experience, but having, seriously, I believe for me, God there guiding me. And I was like, something's not right. So I do special stains. And the individual had metastatic breast cancer to her duodenum, but I had nothing. And actually the GI doctor was doing this for something unrelated and did not even know either. He was completely surprised. It looked like a normal duodenum. So immunostains help us a lot as our tools. The AI tools are for those. Sometimes we can take the slides where I put the tissue on your biopsy, and we can run through a system that actually is using our eyes. And I've done AI guidance before, and it's able to scan it and measure the size of it and predict what the cancer is. And in addition, some of the things you're talking about, like molecular, like BRCA1, or finding out if it has certain genes, it's able to do all that in those tools. So those are some of the things that we use as pathologists. And if a cancer doctor calls us and said, I'm worried about this tumor marker because I want to use this treatment, we now do very tailored studies to be able to see if your cancer is susceptible to certain treatments. So that's where this precision medicine comes into play.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next question is, it says, hi, doctor. I unfortunately had a false negative mammogram in 2023. How will AI help decrease the mishap from happening?
So good. That is a great question. Okay, first of all, there are multiple modalities, and I'll tell you, the recording I'm doing on the podcast next week will be with the breast radiologist. She just does breast, and a breast surgeon. There are many modalities that are used for it. The mammogram is one of the two. If you feel a lesion on your breast, they're going to do an ultrasound, right? That's for palpable lesions. And what I get done actually is an ultrasound with a mammogram interchange with MRI. So the mammogram can find certain things, but it can't find anything. What it's also good at is calcifications. I don't know if any of you have had a mammogram that said with calcifications. So imagine that, what should I say? You know how children like play with the putty and stuff, and sometimes some of it kind of gets gritty in certain areas? Benign breast tissue can have calcifications, and malignant breast tissue can have calcifications, but the calcifications in malignant breast tissue appear a certain way on a mammogram. So if the mammogram is showing those calcifications, then they're like, okay, that's a concerning area. However, there's many malignant processes that don't have calcifications. So the mammogram is not going to pick all that up. So if you're high risk, that's why they recommend, if you have a palpable lesion, to do ultrasound and mammogram, and then 6 months later to do what is called MRI of the breast. The MRI, to me, it's like you guys have taken a magnifying glass or the concave mirror and looked at your face. You're like, oh my God, it looks so like craters and it's just so high. But that's with the MRI. The MRI is like, it shows you more than you probably need to see. So it can overcorrect. However, it can pick up things that may be missed on the mammogram. So that's why sometimes when people say something was missed on mammogram, it could be that it wasn't a lesion that could have been found. And second of all, it's also because other modalities can be used. So in the future, what they're doing is being able to eventually, it's going to be screening where we either use a very good 3D mammogram, which is the tomosynthesis, which everybody should be having. I hear that some people are still being asked if they want 3D. That should not be a question. Is doing the high res mammogram, and that's going to pick up more, and doing it with AI. So radiology is already actually using AI in CT scans. These are programs very similar to what I was talking about. So maybe they can pick up things that the normal eye may not see at a better rate. So that's coming out in the future, so we don't have what you say, those missed. I also can say sometimes lesions are so small, they're not picked up by mammogram. And then 6 months later or a year, whenever you're getting your other one, if you're getting an annual, imagine a high-grade tumor grows so fast that now it's shown. And that's what happened to my mom. She had her mammogram. It was completely normal, nothing. The next year, she has a big lobular carcinoma. So unfortunately, it's not that they missed it. It's that it was not visible at that time. So I hope I know AI and advancement in imaging is going to pick those up.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do have a few more questions and concerns here. The next question is, what's your take, doctor, on the VeriScan breast CT or thermography? Butcher that one. Thermography.
Oh, Okay, so personally, I'm not a radiologist, but my friend who is a breast radiologist talks about this a lot. So if you could give me that person, or maybe if you do later, I'm going to give you a clip of her explaining it because she does it well. She does recommend it, but it does have its limitations. So I think the way she explains is perfectly. And I actually have it in one of my IG lives from last year. So I'm going to try to get that, and I'll give it to you, Dr. Gigi.
Thank you. And this individual also says that exactly happened to me. Unfortunately, so sorry to hear your mom went through that. And thank you. And the last two questions here, Dr. Davis, it says here, in regards to a negative mindset, how do you recommend an individual shift their mindset from a negative mindset to a positive mindset?
Oh, that it's not easy. Let's say that because even because I know so much about it, when I was going through all my biopsies, I had a negative mindset, thinking the worst. Have friends and family with you. First of all, have friends and family with you. Second of all, if you have, whether it's God, whoever is a higher being you believe in, I really do believe that prayer can help if that is what you believe in. Also, it's reframing. When I'm dealing with patients or people that are going through obesity and now they're trying to do it, a lot of our negative mindset is looking from the outside. Social media, looking at these perfect people on social media and like, oh my gosh, why am I not like that? And it's all filtered. So when you're going through a process where you have a negative mindset, take out all the filters. Get rid of going through social media scrolling. Get rid of looking at TV, out of all these things. Try to look at more positive things. Try to talk to your friends. Try reading and researching on things that about goals and mindset. I think that really helps. Also, when you're going through something low, our response is to do something that makes you feel worse, right? Sometimes the response is, oh my gosh, I'm having a bad day, I'm going to binge eat. Or, oh my gosh, I'm having a bad day, I'm going to watch something that's going to make me cry. Really write down every time you're having a negative mindset and what your response is, and write down what you're going to do now instead of the negative response. So for instance, I had a very bad day. My daughter made me upset. Instead of the negative mindset that I do, I'm going to write, I'm going to go on a walk with her, or I'm going to cook something healthy. And if you write that down with intention, over time, when you're feeling negative, you're going to have a positive response. Exercising increases endorphins, getting out to walk, playing with friends, all of that increases the positive. So I think that intentionally realize when you're having the negative mindset and see what you can do to change that around.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. And the last question is, tell us more about the importance of a mammogram. Why is it so important?
Oh my goodness. If there was three things I would say for men, the screening tools that we have, and I wish we had more, are so vital, and they prevent so many deaths and progression of cancer that I just cannot emphasize this enough. Colonoscopy, prostate screening for men, and breast cancer screening for us is so important. This mammogram test is saving the lives. We have more people that may have breast cancer, but we have more people that are not dying because of the mammogram. And I even wish that it was more, right? And I forgot to say the Pap test as well. That's another screening that for us as ladies that we need to do that prevents the majority of cervical cancers. But when we get to the breast, the mammogram is a snapshot in time. It's a snapshot in time that's saying, this is what you had this year. And this is another important thing, to get it every time you're supposed to, because we also go on changes. You may have a breast that's dense breast tissue like I have, and have so many things going on, which are fibrocystic changes. And if you don't have the snapshot from every year and you just come in 1 year after 5 years, the doctor's not going to be able to see the changes, the progression. So it's so important to have a mammogram and have your mammograms on time, scheduled all that you need to, so that we're able to see the changes in the snapshot. So please, 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 if there's anything, it's so important. And I'll tell you in full transparency, I was working and they found 6 nodules. And I was working so much that I felt bad taking off time to go get my mammogram. We should not do that. Our life, our jobs are going to keep going. If we were to not be here the next day, our jobs are going to keep going, but we will not be here and our family will miss us. So don't allow anything in your life to take away from getting that mammogram. That's your self-care day. If you want to go treat yourself afterwards, mani-pedi, whatever, massage, do that, but encourage yourself to get your mammogram.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Thank you.
Welcome. Now, our next speaker is Lisa Aceta, is a 2-time breast cancer survivor and 3-time cancer overcomer. She's also the founder and CEO of Cancer Life Organizing LLC. Inspired by her experiences with cancer treatment, she developed a non-medical cancer life organizer and other innovative tools to help cancer patients and their caregivers reduce overwhelm, maintain productivity, and find greater peace during treatment and beyond. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Gigi. I have a presentation, so I would like to be able to share my screen here. If I can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So thank you again. I'm Lisa, and I'm going to be talking with you about organizing your way through breast cancer. This is actually what I did, and it helped me find productivity and peace in the midst of the chaos of cancer. So that is now my mission. Someone else mentioned purpose. That's my purpose now, is to help others utilize organizing to kind of get through it, right? So my personal story is that I have survived 3 cancers, which is really kind of crazy to say, and 2 times with breast cancer. All of my cancers were unrelated, and even my breast cancers, one was not a recurrence of the other. They were both completely different types of cancer, as like the doctor mentioned. One was DCIS, and the other was like the opposite, right? The invasive triple positive. And in between the 2 breast cancers, I had a tonsil cancer, which was a completely different experience of treatment. I wanted to say that emotional reactions always come first. And I know that some of the other panelists have mentioned this, the whole shock and fear and worry after you're told you have cancer. You immediately think you're going to die. And you really do zone out after that. And a lot of times they're trying to give you all kinds of instructions and next steps. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to, kind of deal with this for a minute. I think after that, what happens is that you go to the how and why, which we've also talked about already today. How did I get cancer? Why did I get cancer? And I know from my own experience, I had a tendency to dwell on that, right? And I was sort of ruminating on that. And what did I do or what didn't I do? But I learned that dwelling actually is unproductive. And you have to reach a point where it is what it is. And what are we going to do next, right? So then you kind of move to the what do I do now? And I'm telling you, life stands still. It's really hard to think. It's really hard to move forward. But we don't really have a choice, right? So something kicks in, right? Our fighter mentality. And what I realized is that I needed to get organized right away to help reduce the overwhelm. We all start researching. We start getting multiple opinions. And then I remember thinking that the doctors were going to tell me exactly what I needed to do. But I think as many of us have experienced, they give you options and you actually have to make a choice. So choosing a path, committing to it, moving forward, not looking back is kind of how I handled it. And knowing that if something happened later on, I would just be able to course correct. Or so I hoped, right? But the impact of disorganization during cancer treatment is really big. you're already feeling overwhelmed, right? You have anxiety, this loss of control over the situation. And then you get inundated with information and appointments and paper. And being disorganized amplifies those feelings that you already have. And then on top of it, you start treatment and you may be taking medication, and all of those things kick in. And those symptoms, of course, and side effects are different for each person because each of our cancers are unique. But any combination of those things starts to really be impactful on your mind and body and your day-to-day. So the turning point for me and how disorganization impacted me, the story I'd like to tell about that is that I basically was a professional organizer. I had a career of being an executive assistant for C-suite executives for 20 plus years. And my sole job, right, was to organize my executive, his team, and his office. And I knew that, right, like the back of my hand. Well, when all of these treatment and medication side effects and then the emotional overwhelm kind of hit me, I started to get really disorganized. I was kind of losing it there for a minute. I think some of us can identify with that. I was forgetting to pay bills and I wasn't always sure what day it was. And I might wake up in the morning and know I had an appointment, but I might forget a few hours later. And it really was really, really challenging. So I'm like, Lisa, you have the experience, you have the knowledge, you have got to get a handle on this. So I decided that I would create a system that would help me get more organized so that I could keep going and move forward and continue to be independent, right? Because even though I had my husband who I could rely on, I wanted to do a lot of this myself. So the mantra that I adopted was the best way out is always through. That's something Robert Frost said. And I still believe in that today. There are no shortcuts, right? We're going to have to get through it the best way that we can. So let's do it, right? And that's kind of the mindset that we're talking about. So realizing the power of organization, I feel that it helps you break out of the cancer bubble. And anyone who's had cancer, I think you know what I'm talking about when I say the cancer bubble. It's like you want to burst out of it because you know life is continuing outside of cancer, but you feel really stuck there because everything becomes about the cancer. So even though you're in treatment, there's still work and family and friends and other personal things that you need to do and that you want to do. So if we take organization and look at some of the benefits of it, the first one is the emotional. It's going to help you reduce anxiety and increase your sense of control, which is really, really key. You want to be able to take charge and have that positive mindset. The practical benefits are managing all of that information more effectively. And that's important for yourself and for your caregiver, who's really, really trying to help you do the most that you can do under the circumstances. I put triggers there because the way that I used to organize myself really became a little bit different when I was facing all of these other things. So I created all these little triggers to remind myself to do things, whether it was a Post-it note or whatever it was, so that I could remember what I needed to do on a day-to-day basis. And then the environmental benefits are really just having an organized space that can be peaceful and calming. And it gives you that sort of resilient feeling, like that you feel that you can actually keep going. And some of the key organizing strategies for breast cancer patients, and really, this is for anyone, but centralizing the medical information is so important. Instead of having it all over the house, and some of it's in the kitchen and some is in the bedroom and all of the things, put it all in one place And that includes your provider information and their contact information in case you need to reach them. You don't have to be looking for cards all over the place. The prescriptions too, so important to keep your medications and the prescriptions together. And then there's the appointments. Really interesting. Some of the organizations or hospitals, they will make the appointments for you, but so many of them come back to us to do the scheduling. And you end up with this really long list of things to schedule. And then once they're scheduled, you have to keep track of them. And then you need reminders to remind you to go to them. So that is a process in itself. I think a calendar system is super helpful. Having a notebook and a to-do list is super helpful. And I put here that you can use physical and digital organization methods. But I will tell you that the majority of people that I've worked with, and it's probably true for myself, using physical reminders really seem to be important. I think when you're so overwhelmed and dealing with so many details, the digital organization becomes just a tad abstract. You know, going to the phone or having to sit at the computer to try to access all the information you need, when really what you're doing all day is trying to just keep up, right? Keep up and keep moving. So I have a whole system for calendaring that really helps. It's probably, I would say, a 3-part system, and it involves digital and physical. So planner, wall calendar, and then reminders in your phone. You want to prioritize your self-care routines. That is so important. If you're not organized, and I can give you an example, it can really be a problem. So I had a port, right? And I had to put lidocaine on that before I went to my chemo treatments, or else it would be painful when they accessed it. So that's an example of something, if you don't have that lidocaine cream available, accessible, a reminder for you to do that. And that happened several times where I just went and it's like, oops, now I'm going to have that extra pain. So in my self-care area, you know, I have everything kind of lined up. So I don't have to think about it. I've got enough to think about. So I would kind of lay everything out. So I would just go from one thing to the other, because the doctors want you to do a lot of things to take care of yourself in between treatments. Organizing medications is really important. Putting them all in one place, making sure that they're current, and then creating a schedule to take them, because taking them on time is important. Making important items accessible, and then creating peaceful, streamlined spaces. You don't want to have to be, you know, hopping over clutter and trying to look for things when really you just need life to be just a little bit easier when you're going through treatment. And then delegating and accepting help is something I just added in, because everybody that knows us wants to help. They don't really know how to help. Sometimes they don't know what to say. So first of all, we have to be able as independent women, right, to accept the help and then delegate it out. And whether that's to your children or your husband or your friend or a family member or a colleague, you know, ask for help, ask for specific help, and then let them help. Oh. The role, I'm sorry, did someone have a question? No? Okay. The role of organization in maintaining control and fostering resilience is also huge. I think having a system to rely on gives you some structure amidst the uncertainty of your day-to-day with cancer. Having a schedule to follow supports your physical and emotional well-being. And designating a place to find the information you need when you need it is really critical, because otherwise it feels like you're using so much time and energy, which you don't have, right? To find things. If you have a plan in place, it helps you keep going. And of course, we all know that it's one day at a time when you have cancer. I agree with kind of staying in the present and taking those baby steps to get through your day. And then really feeling good actually when you do get through the day, because it isn't easy, as we've all talked about. And then, yes, if you're organized and being somewhat productive, right, you can set and achieve manageable goals, and they might be mini goals, but you have to start believing that you can do it and celebrate, right, the small things, the small wins. And then again, organized and clear spaces will give you greater mental clarity and peace of mind, which again just helps with that positive mindset and helps you to face the challenges, right? And then in your scheduling, you want to try to make time for self-care and for family and for work. I mean, a lot of us are still working, maybe raising kids while we have cancer and cancer treatment, and that is an unbelievable challenge. But we can do it, right? We can do it. And with the empowerment through organization, that's where I feel that you can find this productivity and peace, which really makes a difference in the overall picture. I mean, my treatment for my cancer, my second breast cancer, the third cancer was in 2020 during COVID. It was a really, really hard experience. And I just kept thinking to myself, how am I going to get through this? And how am I going to keep going? And how am I going to feel at peace? Because I've always actually in my life been searching for peace. And this detour, as somebody had mentioned earlier, throws you off course, right? It throws you offline. And, but I tried to stay the course, get back on course. Maybe it was a different course, right? But I was challenged myself with finding peace. So simplifying and organizing does reduce stress. Decluttering all of the spaces helps you feel more zen and at ease with your current situation, and even more accepting somehow. And if you can empower yourself to keep going, you have the attitude that you're not going to give up. And then try to find greater joy and peace amidst the chaos and the constant challenges, because they actually don't usually let up, even after active treatment is done. And I always say to live your best cancer life by putting the can do into cancer. And then I always say, remember, if I can do it, you can too. And that is just my website information. I would love to connect with all of you. I do free consultations and I'm on social media. And I really, really appreciate this opportunity. I did have one slide at the end that was the screening guidelines. And Gigi, I don't know if you want to share that around. But as the doctor had mentioned, those mammograms are so important. I never had a lump. I only had my breast cancers detected by the mammogram, and it was the 3D mammogram that I credit with finding these minor calcifications, as she had mentioned, about a year after I'd had a normal mammogram. And I always try to go on time and every year, which is another thing to schedule, right? And if you can even go to the same place each time, because of the fact that they are now looking at your records year over year to see those little changes that might be occurring. So that is the end of my presentation, and I hope that all makes sense to you and gives you some ideas and insight, and to try, it's sort of right, like the mind of a cancer patient / survivor, and how we can help ourselves continue to move forward.
Thank you, Lisa. And
thank you.
You're welcome. Amazing advice.
Thank you.
Welcome. Our next speaker is Deja. Deja is a Hawaii-born entrepreneur who has overcome significant challenges in her life, including surviving cancer and domestic violence. Deja has transitioned from being a teacher to a self-taught entrepreneur. She's a successful and current business owner of 5 years. Welcome, Deja.
Thank you. Aloha, everyone. I'm Deja Marie, and as Dr. Gigi said, I am a breast cancer survivor. I believe in early detection I believe that's what helped me. Self-exams and the mammograms are so important. But I'm an odd case because I was in my 30s. I was my late 30s when I was, no, I'm sorry, mid 40s when I was diagnosed. And usually people over the age of 50 get diagnosed. And what I had was inflammatory breast cancer. So I didn't have any lumps. My mammogram showed some tissue that was together, and my breast started becoming red. It turned red, 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 red. It was an angry breast. I did all the tests. I was diagnosed, and that's when it hit me. This is it. This is it for me. And you can get really low self-esteem. I thought I'm going to lose my breasts. My other half is not going to want me. I'm not going to be appealing. And I made myself more sick thinking like that. So what I'm here to share is to never lose the faith. Like the presenter before me, all of that is so important. What I did was I had a journal, and every time I had a negative thought, my first negative thought was, I am not going to see my granddaughter graduate. That brought me down even more. I noticed that on chemo days, I felt even worse because of my thoughts. So you gotta have faith. The Lord prayer helped me. I grew up Catholic, but I wasn't a practicing Catholic, but I believed in the Lord. I still do. And every day I prayed, please stay by my side. Help me through this. I had the port. They first started with a PICC line to get immediate to help me because it was growing so fast. I then got a port, and like she said, without that lidocaine, it does hurt. Nothing is fun about it. I would never wish it upon anyone, but if you're gonna go through it, have the mindset that I'm gonna make it through it. And I told myself, I'm gonna see my granddaughter graduate. I'm gonna see other grandchildren. I lost all my hair. I felt the worst in my whole entire life, but I never gave up because I wanted to live. You have to will yourself. I'm going to live. I'm going to go through this. My breast is going to stop being red. It was only one side, and I'm going to be okay. And with that, I survived months of treatment. I kept looking at that journal I had. I started off on a menu in the hospital that I wrote down that I'm going to see my granddaughter graduate. I prayed every day. I talked to my children about it. And my granddaughter's entering high school next year, and I'm here. So I believe that faith, believing in yourself, and willing yourself to live can help if you have breast cancer. Anybody have questions or anything?
Thank you, Deja.
Thank you.
Very powerful. Now, our next speaker is Mrs. Sharrock. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Sharrock Media Group and founder of a 501c3 nonprofit organization, Beyond the Booth, Inc. And Sharrock is a certified professional life, business, and Christian coach. Additional credentials include being a mental health first aid advocate. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I am Lakita Warrior Sharrock. Today, I want to quickly just take a moment to share with you how to be an unstoppable warrior. When you think of a warrior, what or who comes to mind? A warrior to me embodies relentless, being unstoppable, a bold mustard seed size faith in the living word. A warrior faithfully surrenders to the journey of a lifetime with Jesus. seeking healing and transformation through the living word. Greetings to you all. My name is Lakita Warrior Sharrock. I am a native from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. My life travels have taken me from Arkansas to Virginia, Texas, Georgia, Florida, and now I'm speaking to you from Metairie, Louisiana, outside of New Orleans. Yes, Warrior is my main name. Sharrock is my marriage unto God relationship blessing. And I love, cherish, honor, and support our union until God takes me home. Before we proceed, before I move any further down, being a kingdom woman of God, I have to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Because you know how he said, by his wounds, we are healed. He is Jehovah Rapha for me, the Lord who heals. I'm grateful for the Holy Spirit leading the team of doctors who cared for me before, during, and after the storm that we all have. We all go through storms. To Gigi, the Warrior Mindset family, thank you for inviting me. I send love. I send love to all my courageous warriors. You are gorgeous queens of light. Breast cancer was a diagnosis. It is a diagnosis. It is not your identity. So for all those who proclaim you are a warrior, warriors run a tight ship. We all know about ships, but did you realize that no matter the size, from the rudder to the captain's deck, a well-run ship operates tight and adequately. So to run that ship, you have to get that you are unstoppable mindset. You allow your growing and becoming faithful relationship with God to move you, move your mountain. During my breast cancer diagnosis, during storms, you have to get that look at God and embrace the unstoppable warrior in you. You have to get that, you know what? I'm going to just hashtag my life, hashtag warrior mindset, hashtag be unstoppable, hashtag storm is over. You got to get it up and down. So today, as a faith-fueled warrior for Christ, I want to go ahead and emphasize that we got to run a tight ship now. Warriors run a tight ship because storms will come. Waves will gain height and speed, and the ocean floor. That's deep. Breast cancer, one of those temporary storms filled with waves of questions, doctors, procedures, and appointments. But baby, Jesus. Woo! Jesus deep within our heart. We rest easy. We don't fret. We don't panic. We activate that kingdom of heaven storm kit, even at sea or land. We live a vertical life of prayer, praise, and worship. See, watch this. See, when you put your hands up, you're looking up. You don't have time to hold on to the negativity. You're embracing all things that come from heaven. Vertical living. See, in the storm, the lighthouse reminds us where and how to stay the course, right? And find that quiet spot in our heart, which is our intellect, our emotions, and our will to remain steady. That my Lord God, your Lord God, heals. The storm, any storm, breast cancer, financial, kids acting this, it's over. It's done. We're overcomers. Now, I know this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's nice to wear pink. See corporations customize their marketing and show support. However, as a breast cancer survivor, we all know this goes beyond a month on the calendar. Those chemo treatments, January. The surgery, April. Prescription refills, July. We know this too well, right? In the summer of 2010, I found a lump in my left breast doing a self-examination. Family members and friends, nah, this ain't what it is. But we know God does not surprise us. I was a divorced 35-year-old single mother of 3 from ages 11 to 16. At a temporary job, no insurance. But God. Initially, my emotions were like, all right, here goes another storm. It wasn't time for me to sulk, blame God. I like, let's go. Activate that Kingdom of Heaven storm kit. I reminded myself, Lakita, you're a warrior, co-captain of your journey on this shit. We run it right, we run it tight. Breast cancer became a strength exercise and a test of my faith. Due to my financial circumstances, I worked my full-time job, had my chemo treatments on a Thursday, went and got that shot on that Friday, rested up on the weekend, went back to work on Monday. Yeah, I had my moments, but you got to understand, it's all about that positive mental attitude and realizing it's not over. It's not over. Embrace the storm. Believe in God's victory plan and keep running a tight ship. I prepare with my Holy Spirit team. My elevation is higher. That transformation. I decided to not only just be a survivor, be a thriver. Thrive as a warrior. A thriving warrior is a friend of Jesus. We all have a mission, a purpose. We all are ready to keep things right and tight. You surrender it. Surrender it to your truth, the truth that you win. Don't count yourself out. Decide every day to steer like a warrior who runs a tight ship. Embrace the temporary storm for what it is. Temporary. It stops. Plan and place faith-based moves in motion. Commit to God's masterpiece and transformation. Decide to have a spa day every day. Speak, prayer, activate, move. Continue to worship and praise God for all that he's doing, because he's doing it. This right here is the Holy Spirit connecting. So I'm going to sum it up for you because it's really just bringing it all in. Run that tight ship. Thrive. Thrive daily as a warrior, not just doing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Recognize and praise all the blessings, regardless of the storm you're in. No, you got this. Continue to share your testimony wherever you go of the healing, the thriving. There are countless women and men who need to be inspired. Ride it out. Ride out the storm with unwavering faith. Remember, God sees all, hears all, knows all, and he heals. You are a warrior. God communicates with us before, during, and after the storm through prayer. We all seek, during the storm, that lighthouse to be that light. Remember, your diagnosis doesn't define you. It's a footnote in your biography. Continue to share. Continue to believe in yourself. Continue to know you're an overcomer. You are a warrior. You are unstoppable. And maintain the connection that the Holy Spirit is doing with everyone you connect to. Because we are a community of warriors. I love you all. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you, Ms. Shirok. That's right. You are a warrior. Now, we did receive some comments in the chat here, some hearts emojis, and also hands up emojis, and also to embrace the storm. Very powerful statement. And now, before we move into our last two speakers here, and then some closing remarks from myself and our co-host Ragnar Sinikis, and also our closing prayer, I want to go ahead and circle back to some of the other comments that we received here real quick. We received a comment from some individuals stating, "Hugs, Whoopi. Great to see you. You look beautiful." Next one says, "You rock." Then the next one says, "Build your wellness team." Thank you all. Now, our next speaker is Patricia Russell. Patricia is a worship leader, speaker, songwriter, and compiler of her 2020 bestseller anthology, Stronger Resilience, Stories to Empower the Mind, Body, and Spirit. She spreads the message that your diagnosis does not determine your prognosis. You must hold on to hope. She says this passionately, having been diagnosed 2 times with breast cancer, initially being told that she was not a candidate for any kind of reconstruction. After her first diagnosis, she self-published a book, Lord, I Trust You, Words of Encouragement, to encourage readers and share life lessons during her cancer journey. And her greatest joy is being married to her husband, Wayne, for 35 years. Together, they serve the community in their local area in various capacities. They have 2 adult children, Raquel and Benjamin. Now, as a 2-time breast cancer overcomer, Patricia coaches others to develop resilience and live life to the fullest. When she's not reading or studying, Patricia loves to eat food and spend time with Lucy, her daughter, Yorkie Poo, who has taken up room in her heart. Welcome, Patricia.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Gigi, and thank you, Ragnar. Thank you for this beautiful opportunity to gather with you beautiful souls and people to share our message and to encourage. Your diagnosis is not your prognosis. I started telling people this when they would talk to me about their breast cancer diagnosis. Diagnosis, briefly put, is the identification of the nature of an illness or another problem. Prognosis is a prediction of the likely outcome of a disease. So when someone gives you news that you weren't expecting, put in the chat if you have responded in any of these ways, fact or fiction. Have you been shocked? Angry? Have you been silent? Maybe you've gasped. Have you cried? Or maybe you've been in a place of denial. I'm sure one of these reactions or responses has been all of us, or a few of us, regardless of the situation. This afternoon's focus on breast cancer diagnosis, we're programmed to jump straight to the prognosis, regardless of what it is. Of course, we need to understand that we want to win. I want to encourage you, regardless of the diagnosis, start from the beginning that you're going to win. Sometimes you can hear the prognosis and it doesn't sound like it's in your favor, but you focus solely on that. I want to suggest that we rewire our thought pattern for a minute. While I don't have any degrees in psychology, I can share from my experience and research with breast cancer. Yep, not once, but it came knocking twice. And for me, I felt like I was on a road trip. If you've ever been on a road trip, and most of us have been, you know that on that road trip, you're going to encounter changes and bumps along the journey. My life was absolutely no different. At 38 years old, I was living a full, active, busy life. I was married with 2 young children under the age of 12. I was driving hard and literally hit a bump on the road. While getting dressed one morning, I felt a pea-sized lump in my breast, and I knew it didn't belong there. So I went to get it checked out. Often on road trips, when you hit a bump or there's a sign or signal or stop to say you've got to detour, you have to come to a complete stop. And like Google Maps, you have to modify the route that you're taking. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. I had to come to a complete stop and do some analysis of my life. And so this afternoon, I believe that when we receive a diagnosis, maybe you had one or you know of somebody who've had one, when we get to check three things. I want us to focus on three things when we get a diagnosis: our perspective, priorities, and purpose. Firstly, choose your perspective right out the gate. How many of us have been told by someone or that they have cancer? Someone's come to you and they said, I have cancer. And they begin to tell you about their aunt, their grandmother, their mother, and the horrible time that they experienced when they received the same news. I'd be curious of the numbers of people who say, I see you've got cancer, but how are you feeling? Flip the switch. Take the focus of what everybody else has had or has experienced. Acknowledge that, yes, you've got cancer, but encourage them right away that you're going to make it, because your diagnosis does not determine the outcome. You get to choose. We get to choose how to respond versus react. Many times when we receive a diagnosis, we feel stuck, frustrated, and hopeless. And those feelings are true. They're real. And while their feelings are important, they're not reliable, because our feelings, like the weather, change. So today, you get to choose the perspective of how to see the diagnosis. What do I mean? I could choose to thank God and be grateful that the diagnosis has a name. Do you know how many people are walking around today who have seen clinicians that can't give a diagnosis to what's happening in their body? I know it sounds strange, but what I say is I thank God that I have the name of the diagnosis. That way I can pray specifically. That way I can advocate specifically with that name. And that way I can do research. So for days on end, people are walking around, they don't have a name for the diagnosis. Flip your perspective. We get to choose our perspective on how we see this diagnosis. I'm not the only one, we can say. I am not alone, because we're not. There are so many support groups out there that can rally around us to help us get through the journey. There are options of treatment, as we have learned. I can make a plan on how to navigate this journey, as our friend just shared about organization, which was fabulous, because someone else has gone before me, advocated for change, and have provided options. Research has been done and continues to push forward. I am not alone. Say that to yourself. I am not alone. Encourage yourself. Encourage others to change their perspective. Secondly, this diagnosis, while it was challenging, it helped me to review my priorities. How have I been living my life? I had to ask. How have my priorities been out of alignment, where I've been looking after everyone else, as Dr. just shared also, everyone else except myself? Have I been giving proper attention to my sleep habits, my eating habits? Have I been working hard to the point that my body is overstressed? Have I made time to exercise? A cancer diagnosis forced me to prioritize me. I now had to stop and see where the imbalance was occurring, because I had been running hard as a wife, mother, minister in my community. I had to stop and take stock of my life. A diagnosis has a way of forcing you to press the brakes on life. It forces us to slow down on our journey in life if we intend to have a positive prognosis. And finally, thirdly, the diagnosis has a purpose. I heard that mentioned earlier. Purpose is defined as the reason for which something is done or created, for which something exists. Great King Solomon said, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. What is the purpose of this cancer diagnosis? Have you ever asked yourself? If you've been diagnosed with it, or maybe you've been diagnosed with something else, everything, I believe, has a purpose. In my case, I truly believe that God had prepared me all along to face the situation. So much that there was scripture that I had meditated on, that I had memorized, and that came flying to my heart after I stepped out of that doctor's office, after he had told me what the diagnosis was. You have to find out what the purpose is. Could it be to get you to consider if you're living intentionally? Could it be to cause us to check our relationships? Because I'll tell you, when you get sick, you need somebody to call. You might need somebody to drive you to an appointment. You might need somebody to cook a meal for you. So we get to check our relationships to see how strong and intact they are. Maybe we need to resolve a conflict so that the relationships can heal, so that we will be stronger to navigate. Our bodies are compromised when we're diagnosed. Who can prepare that meal for us? So maybe it's to check our relationships, see how intact they are. We all need each other. As the songwriter says, we all need somebody to lean on. Maybe managing my time better, managing my energy. What is the purpose of this? For me, cancer had a lot of purposes, and one was to be able to empathize with others, to be able to support others, to give voice to it from a leadership perspective, and so many more. So in conclusion, I want to encourage you today that your diagnosis does not determine your prognosis. A cancer diagnosis does not mean suffering forever. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a gloomy future. And most of all, it doesn't mean a death sentence. The identification of an illness and the prediction of the outcome are different. Just because you're diagnosed with breast cancer doesn't mean your outcome is going to be death or you're going to have a dire time dealing with it. The diagnosis gives you a name and an explanation of what is happening in your body. But guess what? We get to choose whether we want to believe the outcome is going to have a positive perspective. It helps us, as we just learned about, reorganizing. We get to reorganize our priorities and find out the purpose of the diagnosis. I believe it's possible because I've experienced it not once, but twice. I was first diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in 2003. It came knocking back at my door in 2016 in the same breast. But guess what? I chose to trust God, to do the God-sized thing while I did my part. I chose to praise God, not for the diagnosis, but in it. Praise is power. And I believe praise helps you to change your perspective. Finally, I chose to be thankful, knowing that this was going to work for my good. I knew I would have greater empathy for others and I would be able to support others. I had a great wellness team to work with in my treatment. I listened to my body and rested. I chose healthy eating plans to help my body fight. And I understood that the purpose of this diagnosis, again, was to make me a better listener, a better wife, a better friend, a better communicator to audiences like you. That the prognosis would be a longer, better, and more fulfilling life. Face the diagnosis with fierce faith, and you can fight for a positive prognosis. Thank you for being here, friends. Remember, your diagnosis does not determine your prognosis.
I love it. Thank you, Patricia, and very powerful statement. Trust him. Thank you. Now, our final speaker here is Olufunke. Olufunke is a marketing copywriter and SEO content writer for healthcare, wellness, technology, and lifestyle brands. Welcome, Olufunke. You're muted, dear. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. So good to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Gigi, for having me here. It means a lot to me. Yeah, so I just wanted to take something from what our last speaker said. Now, Patricia, she mentioned something about taking stock and actually adopting healthy eating patterns, which is actually like quite key for every one of us, women, men, So, and okay, just a quick backstory. It's like 2 days ago, I made a post on about symptoms of breast cancer because, you know, October is the month. So I decided that every Monday in October, I'll be sharing content to just create that awareness for women, for people on my media, that's LinkedIn, to just educate people. And interesting enough, some people don't actually know some of these symptoms. I mean, ladies, women. And I got a particular question that actually triggered me to actually do more research before today. The lady was asking me that, okay, is it possible that their foods or diets, can it trigger cancer? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I actually wrote an article about foods that can cause cancer. That was like a year ago. It's on my LinkedIn profile. So, and I said that in that article, I made a breakdown about things that can actually, you know, trigger cancer, different things. And top of that list is actually diet. Of course, like Dr. Davis said the other time, I was really, really paying rapt attention to everyone. And I made a note about, she's saying that, okay, it's not okay to actually shame people for their diet or for their lifestyle, of course. But then in the process of we showing empathy, we can also like enlighten people, because diet is like, I mean, there's this quote that says we are what we eat. So like everything that enters into your body, and I love the fact that Patricia was emphasizing on that, she adopting a new diet pattern and all of that. So the baseline of everything I'm trying to say is we are what we eat, and far from trying to surviving cancer or even being in the process of understanding that journey, our diet actually has a role to play in even in the way we look. Your skin, I don't know if you've had a moment where probably you just had a switch in your diet for like maybe 90 days, you just did a new diet plan, and you feel there's this refreshing look that comes with changing your diet in a particular season. And I feel that it's not just something we should do once in a while. Maybe, for instance, I've had struggles with weight loss. I've had struggles with, you know, my body self-esteem and all of that. And times I go into these strict diets and I come back again with my body size being the same. So, but then I discovered that diet is not just a one-time thing. It's supposed to be like a lifestyle. So even if I'm in the process of, okay, I want to lose weight, I want to try to eat healthy, I'm trying to get through a sickness, or I'm trying to get through something, it's something that it should be like a consciousness, something I should create, like Lisa was saying about having a schedule, you know, and all of that. I can be so much intentional with my diet to the extent that I also have a journal for what I eat. It could look so simple, but then it's so profound that, okay, every single thing I eat, of course, I might not be able to track everything like 24/7, but the major things that goes into your body, you can say, okay, this is what I ate in the past 14 days. This is how it has affected my mood, my body, my skin, my self-care. I think someone was talking about self-care the other time, and I think it's so important for us as women to say, okay, this is part of my self-care routine. Diet is like probably one of the top 5. So, you know, different people have different things they use for self-care. But for me, and I think that for everyone, diet should be like a priority, not something that we just brush through. So I'm going to work, I just want to grab a cookie or something instead of eating maybe vegetables or fruits or something like that. So it's easier to grab a donut on the road or a pizza or something than you actually sitting down to cut vegetables in your house. So, and then going back to maybe 80s, 90s, people actually feasted more on naturally processed food. I mean, I had grandma that they had gardens in their houses, they had plants, so they literally ate things that came in from their own garden. But now we have processed food everywhere, like just on your way to work, coming back from school, doing this and that, shopping malls, they are filled with these things. So I think that the most important thing is we being intentional about what we take in, because like people will say you can't give what you don't have. So if what you are taking in is not so fantastic, in quotes, the outcome might not be so fine, although we cannot control some of these outcomes. Like cancer, sometimes it is linked to genetic causes. So there are causes that are just beyond our control. But of course, there are things that we can also control and put into our own sphere, like food. Like, so you can actually decide to say, okay, this is what I want to eat, this is what I want to drink for the next 1 year. So just basically giving us that consciousness of, okay, I can choose to eat what I want to eat. I can also choose to eat right, even though it's hard in a world full of processed foods and quickie bites and all of that. But we can still choose to actually say, okay, this is what I want to eat. This is the right thing for me to eat. So yeah, thank you so much. I think I'm just going to stop here so I don't take much of your time. Thank you.
Very powerful. And thank you so much, Olafunke. We truly appreciate you. And for those that were not aware, in regards to what Olafunke was sharing there, Olafunke was talking and covering the subject breast cancer. Does your diet play a huge role? Again, very powerful. And thank you, Olafunke. And now at this time, we'll have some closing remarks from our co-host, our amazing co-host, Ragna Sinikas.
So what an impressive event it has been. So grateful and blessed to really get to know you, know your story, and having the courage to come and share your story. I absolutely loved so many presentations today. I hope that you're watching, you did make and take some notes. For sure, there is some things that pops into your mind, and you can actually take action on those. Just don't write them down, but also take action on this. We would like this to be a little more interactive. So if you are watching this from other platforms, please share your questions or comments, and also give us a little heads up. Who would you want to have on those conversations, and especially for this Global Breast Cancer Conference for the next year? So this one was very focused on a lot of stories that and a lot of survivors that have gone through and shared their stories, how they really saw the light in the end of the tunnel, and sharing also their tools, what has been available. But I think as we saw that the technology is really taking huge leaps. I think it's important also to see what is going on those fields, and I think next year we will be bringing some more doctors on those conversations, which can also share their valuable insights, what's going on, what's new, what type of preventions are available, because I think that it's absolutely amazingly important that the practices that have been there before are changing, and really, really rapidly and fast. Nevertheless, those stories shared today, wow, what an impression. Thank you, Booby, for always bringing so much laughter to us, which I think a lot of people were not really waiting for that, to laugh at the Global Breast Cancer Conference, and obviously Grace, which you have been with us so many years now. Thank you for your continuous support, and Dr. B, that always there with us as well, and Gigi. Without you, we wouldn't be here for the 5th year. So thank you very much for all of you to show up, not only for the rest of the world, but for yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ragni. We appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today for the 5th Annual Global Breast Cancer Conference. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. And we also have some more comments that came in. It says here, thanks so much, ladies. I truly appreciate it. Going through chemo and radiation right now, so I really needed this. And then it says here, you're going to make it. Sending hugs. And then lastly, thank you to all of the speakers. You are all so inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Gigi, for the opportunity to share. Thank you to everyone watching. Remember, you can do it. Very powerful statement. And again, thank you all. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our sponsors. And thank you all for attending. Whether you join us on the back end or on the front end via social media, we appreciate you. And if you're going to listen to this in the podcast or YouTube, again, we appreciate you. Now, I want to remind you all to remember to keep going no matter what, and to hold on to faith. Again, if you're listening to this message, hold on to faith. And we've heard from amazing speakers from all over the world today, each and every one of you, as our amazing co-host Ragnar mentioned. you all are a walking, talking testimony that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And so others too can overcome. You can get through this. And again, you are not alone. One of my favorite verses is Joshua 1:9. It states, "Haven't I commanded you to be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid or discouraged, for your Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And it's a great reminder that he is with you wherever you go. Oftentimes we'll hear things in our society where some folks may say, well, I feel like I'm by myself. I got this diagnosis and I'm shutting the door and I'm not talking to anyone. I feel by myself. No, you're not alone. He's with you wherever you go. And again, hold on to faith. Thank you all. And we hope to see you next year at our 6th annual Global Breast Cancer Conference. And we will have a closing prayer from the amazing Dr. B.
Thank you, Gigi, and thanks everybody. I mean, I have a knot in my throat because I've been wanting to cry as all of you are speaking because of your stories. But as we conclude, I just want to make sure that we leave with a powerful reminder from Jay Style that says, if it ain't sexy, don't do it. Let it be our mantra as we move forward, embracing what makes us feel alive, confident, and true to ourselves. Life after cancer is about more than just surviving. It's about thriving in our passion, our joy, our inner beauty. So let's commit to live boldly, doing what sets our souls on fire and making every moment count. Because if it ain't sexy, it simply isn't worth our time. So let's go ahead and Heavenly Father, we come before you today, lifting every cancer warrior and survivor in this room and around the world. We thank you for our strength, resilience, courage, for the battles that we faced and those that are facing the battle right now, and the victories that we've won. May we continue to fill those with hope, healing, renewing their spirits and restoring their bodies, and surround those that are going through cancer with love, comfort, and peace as they walk through this journey. Grant them the joy of living fully, the grace to embrace their inner beauty, and the courage to step into each day with confidence. Let your light shine through them, reminding them that they are never alone. In your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. B, for such an amazing prayer. And thank you all. And God bless you and be safe. We appreciate you. God bless.